Every now and then I manage to put together a race that I am quite proud of, and this week 4 LFM race at Bathurst Mount Panorama was one of those, where I managed to achieve something that I thought would not be possible for a good while. And at the end of the video I would love to know from you if you have managed to achieve this at Bathurst as well. And yes, spoiler alert, this race does go relatively well for me. So let's dive straight into the action and reveal all, starting with qualifying. So here we are qualifying now for this 45-minute race at Bathurst. 17-degree track temperatures for this race, and we are looking at a speedy circuit. Really hoping to put down a good time here. One final swing of the axe at the very end of this qualifying session. Now, I had done a 2-minute 1.2 second lap prior, but I knew there was more pace in this car on this track, so I was really hoping to put it all together. Having done a 2-minute 0.8 in practice earlier in the week, I was really hoping to try go all-time PB here on the mountain. Now, there is a big gaggle of cars up in front, and we're hoping that 3-4 second gap is enough to hold them off and set a flying lap here. Now we're coming out of turn 2 up towards the cutting, and I am 1/10 up already on this lap, and as we come through the cutting, gaining another 10th there, now showing 2.5 tenths up on this lap, and starting to look at that 2-minute lap time around Bathurst here. Coming up under the tree into Reed Park, down into the grate, and still holding it flat over the top of the hill, getting up on that curb a little bit into McPhillamy Park here. And as we round McPhillamy Park, as we down to Skyline, I am starting to catch up here, a blue Aston Martin in front, and as we come down the hill through the dipper, I'm finding a lot of time on my previous lap. Look at that predictor there, 2-minute 0.7, 0.8, so we are looking at close to a PB for this lap. Down through Forest Elbow and out the other side, but unfortunately right under the wing of that blue Aston Martin. Now, black BMW in front stops on track, blue Aston Martin almost collects him down the Conrod Straight here, and as we approach here, showing 5.5 tenths up, I'm really hoping he's going to hop out of my way. He's entitled to a lap. I have no drama with him sticking to it. It's just unfortunate that we catch him at this moment, and we go a little bit deep through the chase on this lap anyway. A little bit distracted there, trying to hold on to as much of an advantage as I can to finish off this lap. Unfortunately, we lose a good half second through this final sector, catching this Aston Martin through the final turn. So despite my loss of time through the chase, that was as good as that lap was going to be. A 2-minute 1.142, yes, a PB in LFM racing on the mountain, but that half second that I lost through that final sector compared to my best would have put me well and truly a personal best lap time. So a bit disappointing, but that is how qualifying can go in LFM, and we still have a race to unfold here on the mountain. And starting that race out of position 11, I had high hopes that it was going to be a good one. In front of us we have door cards 6 and 8, the Ford and the Ferrari there. Next to us, door card 21 and door cards 9 and 10 behind. So a interesting mix of cars, a lot of them at a similar level, and we're going to get a green light and underway here. Now I've got a nice big hole in front of me to fill into turn number 1. We get it down to first gear, hug that inside apex, and come out the other side without any drama. Now, a big gaggle of cars here, a 40-car grid for this Bathurst race, cars all over the place, but I find myself in the middle of the road up Mountain Straight, and the Ferrari's having a little look on the outside. I'm happy for him to be there, because you cannot pass around the outside at turn 2 at Bathurst, and he instantly loses that positioning there. The Ford's run wide as well. There's a little bit of break from me just to slip in behind. I do not want to go side by side into the cutting on lap 1 on cold tyres, so we file in here through the cutting out the other side, and it's nice to have my own piece of racetrack here at the start of this lap number 1. Coming up under the tree through Reed Park for the first time, and we're just finding our feet here. Again, happy to have our own piece of racetrack. Coming out of the grate, and the Ferrari behind takes a big hit on the wall behind. He picks up damage instantly and opens up that gap behind as we come down the mountain here over Skyline down towards the dipper. We're just following the train here, hoping to have no drama in front, ready to avoid at any time. Fortunately, nothing going on in front of me here. The joys of being up near the front of a race around Bathurst, a lot less to avoid. And out the Forest Elbow for the first time, down Conrod Straight,
A nice clean way to start this race here in 45 minutes, obviously, with that pit stop required. Big deep breaths after that first lap, coming down the straight here. And we're just going to see what unfolds. Still holding that P11, and that's a big success for me on this lap 1 through the chase for the first time. And in front, the Lexus and the Ford go a little bit wide at the chase, a big slide from the Ford, and that allows us to slip up the inside, taking the opportunity there. And we're going to come down to the final turn here in a top 10 position, cleanly through lap number 1. The Lexus going wide at that final turn as well, so it was a tidy lap from me, a little less tidy from others, and we have gained 1 position as a result. Now up Mountain Straight on lap number 3, and we have got 4 cars in front of us, and we've settled in nicely behind them. Coming through turn 2, they're all having a look at each other, and I'm happy just to hang back a little bit with that Ford right behind as well, not putting too much pressure on me at this point. Coming into the cutting on this lap, a huge slide from me, and we are a bit worried on that one actually. We didn't quite expect the car to do that. We gather it together, no contact with the wall thankfully, and as we head up into Reed Park on this third lap, the Ford behind, he takes a knock to that inside wall, so he's looking a little bit rough as well with that slide out of the chase and now that wall contact, so that takes the pressure off us behind once again, and we're just going to go eyes forward down the mountain here. On lap number 4, we come down to Forest Elbow, the Lexus in front, a big slide, and I have my own moment as well, struggling to get the car stopped, and that Ford who's gathered it up from his wall contact, he's now right behind, he gets a much better exit, and that horsepower of that Ford really shows. Sectors 1 and 3 for the Ford, it's party time for him with all that horsepower, and he easily gets up the inside here towards the chase. There's no point defending that one after the poor exit from Forest Elbow, and we slot in behind here. 37 minutes of this race still to go, and a bit over 2 seconds now to the number 10 McLaren behind, so I really need to start finding my own pace in this race and not bleed time like I did there against some of these others' cars. Now up to lap number 6, we are coming through the cutting here, and fortunately I'm starting to find a bit of my own pace here. A 201.8 on the previous lap was a best race lap for me around Bathurst at that point, and as we come up to Reed Park on this lap, the Mustang makes another contact with that inside wall with a higher consequence than collecting that outside barrier as well. He's still pointing straight, but a big slowdown for me, and that's really starting to see that McLaren start to catch us as we come over the mountain here. Pushing on to lap number 7 up Mountain Straight here, and a couple of lap cars now in front of us, 2 of them going side by side up the mountain, and the Mustang there unsure which way to go to get by them. It's definitely going to be some more slowdown, and I'm concerned at this point about how I'm going to get around these lap cars as we head up the mountain here. Now they both move over to the left, which allows the Mustang through, but it's a really awkward time for myself, and that McLaren behind who's really caught us up through that section, he actually makes contact with one of those cars in the mirror there. Really awkward place to be trying to pass 2 by 2 and through the cutting. And as we head to the back of lap number 7, that McLaren, he's right on the bumper now, gets a really good run out of Forest Elbow. Initially some grunt from the BMW pulls a little bit of a gap, but he is certainly in the slipstream here. And as we head up the little rise here, as we head down Conrod Straight, he's right in the slipstream now, and that's a really good run. I'm not really sure if we are going to be able to defend this. He's already showing good pace. I just try and brake as deep as I possibly can, but he does a really good job braking, getting the car to the apex, just enough room, no contact. You let him by to chase down that Ford in front. And with 26 minutes to go, you can see that McLaren has skipped ahead chasing down that Ford. We're going to start thinking about pit stops and that period of the race as well, but I've got a nice little gap behind to play with. Now a big drama up ahead at turn number 2 involving the door card number 6 Ferrari, which elevates us up into position 11, 1 place away from that top 10, which would be a great win if we can get up there during this race. And with 22 minutes left to go in this race, the McLaren actually dives into the pit lane, and I decide to finish off the fuel load here, still have 1 lap of fuel in the car, decide to take a bit of an overcut strategy to see if we can gain some time on them. However, it undoes a little bit here as we come down the hill on this last lap before the stop. We've got a car on the inside of the circuit through the dipper, slowing down to make sure there's no drama there, and we lose a good 6 tenths on this lap through that one section. Tricky little pit lane entry here at Bathurst, and this is the first time I've actually completed a pit stop here at Bathurst, with my previous races being sprint races. We get it stopped on the line, no speeding in the pit lane, and I even do a good job at hitting my marks here during this pit stop straight up on the jacks, and the result of all of that time saving means that as I exit the pit lane, we are actually gained a little bit of time with the cold tyre outlap from that McLaren to be right behind here as we head up Mountain Straight. Granted, on colder tyres, so we're going to be slower on this particular outlap, and that gap will open a little bit. So with 14 minutes and 55 seconds of this race still to go, I find myself in position 12, which is a net P11 with a car that is out of sync up in front and not completing a pit stop yet. And we have in front of us a 2-second gap to the number 10 McLaren and a 4-second gap to that number 8 Ford also. But it's this stage of the race that I actually produced some of my best racing laps here at Bathurst, a stint that I am really proud of. We are right up to the wall here as we come out of the grate, not registering any damage at all, and really starting to find my groove here as we come down over Skyline. And this is where we get our first piece of drama of this latter stage of the race. We've got a Lamborghini on the outside there and the number 8 Fords involved on the inside of the circuit. That brings us up to a net P10, a net top 10 here at Bathurst. And a slowdown from that McLaren through that incident puts us right behind him as well. Skipping ahead to the next lap as we come over the hill, and what I notice is that the gap behind us to the number 15 Ford, who was only 2 seconds behind us at that point, really opens up. He's had a drama over the top of the hill as well, so the pressure behind totally goes off, and we can now position ourselves fully eyes forward, trying to put as much pressure on this McLaren as we can for the last 10 minutes of this race. We're going to come through here to complete lap number 16, doing a 2-minute 1.6 second lap, my second lap time of that level in a row. And as I said, this is a stint of the race where I produce some of my very best laps around Bathurst. Yes, they are not absolute alien level, but this is a really nice improvement for me, having previously only done a 2-minute 1.9 as my absolute best racing lap. Now producing consecutive laps under that time was a really big win for me. Fortunately as well, we were getting a little bit of help from some lap traffic, which was affecting the McLaren in front and was not affecting me. See a big slowdown for the McLaren down the hill, and nicely let by that Ferrari down Conrod Straight here on lap 17. So a bit more of that and a bit more pressure from me with some quick lap times. We may be able to force a little error here from this McLaren, who previously looked a lot faster than me through that first stint of the race at least. Coming out the other side here, we're showing a 10th up now on that previous best lap. Gonna try and gun for what ends up being my fastest lap of the race and my fastest lap at Bathurst as a racing lap of all time, 2:01.54. Really happy again with that improvement so late in this 45-minute race. Now with 6 minutes and 30 seconds left to go, you can see I'm still on the rear bumper here, still producing 2-minute 1 second lap times. McLaren's doing a really nice job though. His pace has been really consistent, and as I said, these are some of my very best laps. There's not much more that I can do at this stage other than my best times. And coming through the dipper here, he's starting to eke out a little bit more of an advantage. The tyres are getting a little bit rugged now on the BMW, pushing really hard. Only 4 minutes of the race to go. A bit over that second now in front and losing a little bit of time on that lap. 2 minutes and 40 seconds to go, and once again I'm helped a little bit by some lap traffic, a little slowdown for him. He's on the outside here. I don't get compromised too badly coming out of the cutting there, and it's all a little bit of help, but again that McLaren is doing enough. And as we come to start the final lap of this race, he gets by that black BMW and he's now a bit over 2 seconds away. It's going to take a bit of a miracle for us to gain one more position here, and I'm just really keen to bring it home as cleanly and as nicely as I can. That BMW doing well enough over the top of the hill here that I'm not really compromised at all as we come down the mountain here. And at this point I really just have to consider finishing this race cleanly with no last minute accidents and finishing off a successful 45 minutes here around Bathurst. Now, a top 10 position is a really good result for me in a field like this. Yes, with being dual card number 12, you still have to really put down a performance here to finish a race and be above your dual card number. And the other big win here, and this is what I mentioned at the start of this video, have you done this before? This race ends up being 0 incident points for me. Absolutely none at all. No car contacts, no barrier contacts, no out of bounds, no points at all. Considering this is the race directly after my previous Pro Series race where I lost a whole bunch of safety rating, this was a huge win for me. Getting across the line here to finish it off a P10, perfectly clean, fast lap times. Couldn't ask for much more here at Bathurst, and that is a unique success for me, one that I do hope to replicate sometime in the near future.
So there we are, a 0 incident point race at Bathurst Mount Panorama. Like I asked at the start of the video, is this something that you have achieved as well? And to top it off with not only my fastest qualifying lap, that yes could have been a bit quicker, and fastest racing laps and racing stint at Bathurst as well, I certainly could not have been happier. As always, let me know in the comments how you think the driving's going. I'd love to hear all your comments about how I'm going. And let us know as well, how did your races at Bathurst go and in the LFM of the last few weeks? If you like this content, give it a thumbs up, consider subscribing if you have not already, and race hard, stay positive. We'll see you all again in the next video soon. Cheers.